The keystone was 7 tons, and when the rig went wrong, when the guide rope slipped and the stone began to rotate 40 feet above the crane yard, I did not shout for help. There was no one to shout for. I had made sure of that. But that is where this story ends. Let me take you back to where it begins. To the ring of iron on an anvil before dawn, to a compound of fire and weight and mathematics on the bank of the Danube, and to the machine that taught me everything I thought I already knew. Carnuntum, October. The first year of Trajan's Dacian preparations, the Fabricae Militaris of Legio X Gemina sits 200 yards from the river dock, and at this hour, before the legionaries stir, before the oxen are fed, the only sound is the bellows and the ring. Always the ring, iron telling you what it is. My name is Corvinus Praxa. I have operated the treadwheel crane at this fabrique for 11 years. I understand weight the way a river understands its banks, not as an obstacle, but as a conversation. A stone speaks through the rope. An ingot speaks through the lift. You listen, and the machine tells you what it needs. Every man I have ever worked with, every man I've allowed to work with me, has been told this on his first shift. The machine speaks to one mind at a time. Divide the attention, and you divide the precision. I believed that completely. For 11 years, I believed it without question. The Pilum. If you have never held one, let me describe it. 2 Roman feet of ashwood shaft, socketed into an iron collar. Then, rising above the collar, a slender iron shank, 3 feet long, no thicker than a man's thumb at its widest point, ending in a hardened pyramidal tip. That tip will punch through a shield. The shank behind it will bend on impact, deliberately. The enemy can't pull it free, can't throw it back, can't use the shield anymore. He drops it. In the instant he is unshielded, the legionary closes with his gladius. That is the design. That is what we build at Carnuntum.
The Pilum is not a weapon, Corvinus. It is a mechanical argument. It wins the argument before the sword is ever drawn.
Hadvo had been saying that for 40 years. I had been listening for 11. It sounded like wisdom. It was wisdom. But there is a distance between understanding a thing and being able to pass it on. And on the morning I am describing, that distance was about to close on me.
No, this one too. 300
Optio Severin Drax arrived at the Fabricae gate with a wax tablet and an expression cut from the same material as his armor. He was not a cruel man, he was a precise one, which in certain situations is the same thing. His tablet said 300 pila by the 1st of November, shipment to the Danube staging depot, arrival in Dacia before the winter passes closed. I told him I could. 11 years, never missed a quota. But 300 pila in 3 weeks meant the treadwheel working double shifts, the bloom iron throughput at maximum, the forge fires never going cold, every variable under control, my control. What I did not say to Drax, what I had no reason to say yet, was that a boy had been standing in the doorway of the forge hall for the past 6 days. 17 years old. Tiro Salius. Sent by the Centurionate to begin apprenticeship in the Machina. I had not formally acknowledged him. You don't rush the beginning of something important. The bloom iron arrived that afternoon by barge from the Noricum smelting districts. 12 ingots, each one a rough, grey rectangle the size of a legionary's torso, each carrying inside it the memory of the ore it had been made from, its density, its grain, its temperament. My first act with any new shipment is always the same. I walk the staging yard with an iron bar, and I strike each ingot once, hard, on its upper face. Most ring. A clear, high tone, solid, consistent, ready. The sound of good iron is one of the finer sounds this world produces. I struck the first ingot. It rang. Second, third, fourth, fifth. The sixth ingot did not ring. It thudded. A short, dead sound. The sound of iron interrupted. The sound of a crack inside.
Corvinus. If the sixth is cracked, the ones beside it in the stack came from the same pour. Check 7, 8, and 9 before you move anything.
7. Dead ring. 8. Dead. 9. Rang clean. 2 ingots void. Maybe more. I pressed my ear to the face of ingot 6 and tapped again. The echo confirmed it. 300 pila, 3 weeks, and now, maybe 4 ingots of my 12 were compromised. The crack wouldn't show on the outside, the forge would find it, but only after I had already spent the time. I looked at the doorway. Salius was still there, watching. I said nothing to him. I had larger problems than an apprentice. 3 nights without sleeping in a bed. That is not pride. That is a confession. I ran the treadwheel myself on the first night, walking the drum alone through 4 hours of bloom iron lifting, because I could not afford a second man with wrong instincts on the walk. The mechanics of the treadwheel are specific. The cadence matters. Too fast and the rope wrap slips at the upper block. Too slow and the load pendulums on the way up. You learn it with your feet before you learn it with your mind. The treadwheel crane stands 11 feet tall. 3 men walking the interior drum can lift a load that would defeat 40 men hauling a rope. That is mechanical advantage. Circular motion into linear pull. The wheel's geometry multiplying the force. I love this machine the way a swordsmith loves his best blade. Not because it is powerful, but because it is honest. It does exactly what the mathematics says it will do. On the second day, the forge revealed the full damage. Not 2 ingots, 4, 6, 7, 10, 11, all with internal voids. Reserve stock was lower quality bar iron needing more heat, more hammerwork before it would take a proper tip. I recalculated. I did not ask for help.
A man who calculates everything alone is either very competent or very afraid. Sometimes both at once.
I ignored Hadville. I had 300 pila to account for. The error happened on the second night. I had been walking the treadwheel since the 6th hour. The reserve bar's stock was thicker than standard shank iron, so I was heating it longer to compensate. There is a shade of orange-white that says the iron is ready. A slightly brighter shade says it is 1 breath past ready. I missed the distinction. I pulled the shank, shaped it. The geometry looked right.
Corvinus, come to the quench pit.
Her voice had the quality it always had when something was wrong. She did not raise it. She never needed to. I walked to the trough. Three. I had pulled 3 shanks at that heat. 3 pila tips that looked correct but would fracture on the first shield strike in Dacia. I took them from the rack myself and walked to the scrap pile. 3 pila lost. 90 minutes of work gone. And I had not seen what Verena, standing 4 feet away with 20 years of quench experience, had seen instantly.
The drum tells you through your feet. He knew it. He just couldn't say it.
On the 3rd day, Drax appeared with a solution. He had assigned a second wheel walker from the general labor pool, a road crew veteran who had never touched a tread wheel in his life. Drax did not ask me. He told me.
Perfect. That's it. That's the hang.
I should have briefed Durrus. A man who has never walked a tread wheel doesn't understand the cadence. He steps when the load says stop, stops when the load needs movement. He broke the rhythm at the top of the lift, and the load swung 18 inches toward the tool rack. The tool rack went down! An hour of recovered time gone. Durrus was unhurt, the tools intact but scattered. I stood in the crane yard looking at the damage, and then I heard, from the forge doorway, the sound of a correction being made that I had not asked for. Calius had moved to the rigging post. He was resetting the guide rope on the lower block, threading it through the capstan jaw in the exact sequence I use. The sequence I had developed over 11 years and never written down and never taught anyone.
After 3 weeks, the gate column capital, 7 tons, 90 feet. The mathematics requires 2 men in the drum.
I stared at him.
I'll be there.
I've been watching the rig for 6 days. The mechanics are clear once you see the geometry.
I asked how he knew the threading sequence. He had watched me thread it every morning for 6 days, the position of my hands on the rope. Upper block and lower block needed to rotate in the same direction for the load to hang plumb. Any other configuration and lateral sway was inevitable. He was right. Completely right. And the machine had taught him, not because I had chosen to teach him, but because the machine doesn't care who is watching. Mechanical advantage doesn't pick its students. I had spent 11 years believing that divided attention divided precision.
Keep the base.
What I had actually been doing was keeping precision hostage. The machine multiplies whatever weight you put into it. My experience, Verena's eye, Hadvo's iron knowledge. And this boy had absorbed 6 days of watching and arrived at the geometry on his own. The machine had taught him. I had just been the last one to notice. I made a decision before the morning fire was lit. Calius would walk with me through every station of the Pilum process, not as an observer, as a craftsman. 11 days remaining, 300 pila to ship. I was going to teach him everything I knew. Not because I had gone soft, because mechanical advantage requires distributed weight. I had been running this fabrique like a machine with one man in the tread wheel. Salius was the second man, Verena was the third. I had been walking the drum alone for 11 years and calling it precision. The Pilum shank begins as iron bar stock. The first step is reading the grain. You heat to bright orange, strike twice, and watch how the scale flakes. Tight, even flakes, consistent grain, iron that will move where you direct it. Ragged flakes, inclusions, weak points the hammer will find before the enemy does. Calius held the bar. He had good hands, a Smith's family 3 generations back. The instinct was already in him. The tang is forge welded to the shank, the critical joint. Too much heat and the weld floods. The shank comes out thin. Too little, and it looks right. Passes inspection, separates in Dacia under the throw force. A legionary has a wooden stick. He missed it twice. On the third attempt, the weld took, a lower, more solid tone from the anvil. He felt it. He looked up.
Yes, master, I see it.
The tip. 3 inches of pyramidal hardened iron. We harden it by selective quench, tip only, vertical in the brine, for the Count Verena measures under her breath. The shank stays softer, flexibility up the shaft, hardness at the point. The racked count climbed. 260, 270. On the 9th day, Drax came to the gate and counted without expression.
31 pila short. 2 days remaining. Do the mathematics, Corvinus.
We did! 2 forges running. Caelius on standard shanks at the secondary anvil. Me managing weld joints. We could push to 18 per day. 31 in 2 days. Every person in the Fabricae moving as one machine. I told him everything. The heat sequence, the strike count, the tip shaping angle, the quench timing by breath count, the balance test hang angle Hadvo and I had calibrated over years. 1 hour for what took me a decade. Not because I had become generous, because I finally understood what I was actually doing. No single man walking a treadwheel alone generates what 3 men walking together produce. That is mathematics. I had built my entire career on that principle and spent 11 years refusing to apply it to the people standing next to me. The final day, dawn to dusk. Caelius at the secondary anvil, shaping shanks with a consistency that would have satisfied me on my best day. Both of us in the drum together, cadence locked, load moving at full mechanical advantage. Yes, exactly right. That was the thing I had never been able to say in words. The machine speaks through your feet. The 300th Pilum came off Verena's quench trough at the 2nd hour past noon. Caelius hung it on the balance rack, 3 degrees low at the tip. Perfect.
That's it. That's the hang.
Drax arrived at the 15th hour with the transport wagon. He counted the rack and made a mark on his tablet. "300 pila to the Dacian staging depot before the passes closed. 300 legionaries with shields broken and enemies unarmed." That was the quota. Drax had been right all along. After the wagon left, I stood in the empty crane yard. Caelius was washing forge scale from his hands, already working through tomorrow's problem the way a craftsman does when the work has gotten into him. I had wanted the keystone lift to be mine. 7 tons, 90 feet, a solo act, because that was what precision required. But the treadwheel requires 3 men. The geometry is not negotiable. You cannot multiply a force you refuse to share. I told him about the keystone, the gate column capital going up in the spring. The lift I had planned alone was going to need 2 people in the wheel. The keystone lift we did together in the spring went cleanly. 7 tons, 90 feet, no drift, perfect placement. Drax was not there. He had his Pila and his Dacian campaign. But Kalius was there, and Verena, and Hadvo, and the weight was distributed exactly as the mathematics required. Duty and desire. I used to think they pulled in opposite directions, what the machine owed the Legion against what the craftsman owed himself. But they have the same answer. You build something that outlasts you. You pass the knowledge on. The machine multiplies whatever weight you put into it, and the greatest weight you can put into it is everything you know.